Welcome to Firefighter Therapy, the podcast designed for the mindset and self leadership required of firefighters in the fire service. I am Robbie Nebergall, your host of this podcast, and today we're going to talk about the cost of waiting. The cost of waiting for what? That is the question. When you think about the things that you've been putting off, what comes to mind? You see, waiting creates the illusion of control. You think you are buying time, and we think that we are protecting our energy. We think of it as avoiding stress, the logical procrastination that goes into decision making. But here's the truth that not a lot of firefighters realize, and that's that waiting is not neutral. It's a decision in and of itself. To not act is a decision. To not act is an action. It's a decision to stay the same. A decision to hold back our own progress. A decision to keep living inside an identity that is not serving anyone. Waiting kills momentum, clarity, confidence, and more importantly than anything, leadership, self-leadership, the thing that counts the most, the thing that we have to start with if we're going to have any hope of leading others. So what's the antithesis of this? Action builds identity. Waiting erases it. And I don't think it's too far of a stretch to wonder why firefighters who deal with chaos every single day still fall into the trap of waiting in their personal life. And it's a very interesting parallel because the job conditions you to respond when the alarms hit. Take action when the tones drop. Move when the call is real. And this can bleed into personal life. You see, firefighters tell themselves, we'll start when things calm down, when the shift gets less busy, when the season changes, when I feel ready. But in real life, that alarm's never going to sound. There is no external trigger to your health, your growth, or your leadership. And if you wait for the perfect conditions in this career, you'll wait forever. Now just imagine what makes you successful as a firefighter while you're on shift. Going to a call. Operating under, most of the time, uncertain circumstances, incomplete information, and a lot of stress and chaos. And yet, in every one of those situations when you show up on shift, you find a way to get it done. In fact, this is such a drastic difference from the general population. You operate under SOGs, SOPs, and protocols. And yet at the same time, sometimes show up on shift to a situation that there is no SOG, SOP, or protocol for. And what happens in those situations? You see firefighters rise to the occasion in such a way, working together to still complete the mission objective. You don't arrive on scene and say, I'm going to wait. I'm going to figure it out. Let me think about it for a couple days. No, what is the thing that drives the success that you as a firefighter possess that so few of the general population ever get to even touch? It's rapid action. It is rapid decision making. It is the non-hesitation that creates your success in completing those objectives on shift, whether we're talking fireground tactics or we're talking medical calls. In both, even if the decision is wrong, it is always better than waiting around and seeing what happens and second guessing yourself. And yet, when we apply this concept to our personal lives, it falls incredibly short. So when you delay something important, what story is being told to yourself about that delay? Waiting becomes identity. You do not say, I delayed my workout. You say, I'm inconsistent. You do not say, I didn't plan my meals. You say, I'm always failing. You do not say, I did not take action today. You say, I am not the type of person who follows through. You see, waiting slowly rewrites how you see yourself as someone who waits and lets life happen, or contradictory to this, as someone who does not allow life to take them for a ride. The difference between a reaction and a response. And here's the truth. Identity, more than anything, the way that you see yourself is built through repetition. Every time you wait, you reinforce the weaker version of yourself. And every time you act, even in spite of imperfect information or circumstances, you reinforce the stronger one, the one who says, the only permission slip that I need to be the person that I said I wanted to be, the only permission slip I need is my own. You see, the firefighter who waits loses, but not because he's incapable. He loses himself because he's training to delay the identity that they say they want. I think there's an important question here. What kind of leader would you be if your crew adopted that same pattern? The leader who hesitates loses time. The leaders who postpone and avoid lose trust. The leader who waits to act loses respect. And the truth is, your crew watches everything. Think of the time you spend together, oftentimes more than with your own family. They see how you carry yourself. They see how you treat your own health. They see how you act on shift and off and the ramifications of it. How can we preach readiness but live in delay? And it goes back to the saying, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. How can we talk about leadership but wait to lead ourselves? And the blunt truth, nobody buys it, least of all you. See, your leadership begins with your willingness to act, not later, now. And what would it look like if you replaced waiting with one small action the moment that you felt resistance? What would happen if you, 1, acknowledge what you're avoiding, and 2, identify why you're delaying it in the first place, then 3, choose the smallest action you can take right now, and 4, execute immediately without negotiation. This is how you break hesitation and break back into the mindset that makes you successful on shift. This is how you build identity, even if it feels against the grain. Because the truth is, the decisions that we make around waiting, we do so because they are familiar and comfortable, and we want to revert back to those things because our minds and our bodies like the stability. But it's not how you reclaim personal leadership, reclaim your life. If you want a different outcome, then it must revolve around making different decisions. And not to be cliche, but to bring back the quote from Albert Einstein, who said his definition of insanity was repeating the same actions over and over again and expecting a different result. But what if you viewed waiting as one of those actions? You see, we view waiting as this thing that is passive. It is a decision, and it will continue to be, whether or not you acknowledge it. But it is possible to train yourself to act before you feel ready to do so. In fact, I would argue that is the only way to become ready in the first place. Because readiness is not a feeling. It is a pattern that you have to build evidence towards. So here's the real question. What's the one area in your life where waiting has cost you momentum, confidence, or leadership? And what is one action you can take today instead of delaying again and falling back into the pattern that has led you to the outcome that you currently stand at? The harsh truth: action, movement is difficult and uncomfortable. But waiting keeps you stuck. And if you're feeling stuck, what's the answer? Move. Move again. Action moves you forward. Truthfully, waiting reinforces your weakness where identity is reinforced by your action. Do not be passive. Leadership isn't passive. The firefighter who loses, they're the ones that wait. The firefighter who acts, they're the ones that win. That's true on shift and off. So I'll challenge you for the next 7 days. The moment you catch yourself waiting or for something that matters, use the action system. Acknowledge, identify, choose, and execute. Start to build the pattern of acting before you feel ready. Readiness is not the prerequisite for action. It is the consequence. And this is how you begin to reclaim your health, your identity, and your leadership in the process. Thank you for tuning in this week, and I'll see you in the next one.